Hello folks, this week saw the release of patch 11.17, but that was very quickly eclipsed by the reveal of the next major content patch for the War Within, patch 11.20 Ghosts of Karesh, confirming that we are indeed going to the ruined ethereal world of Karesh. And it was an announcement that had quite a few surprises. Now, one of the main questions that always arises with a new patch announcement, especially a major seasonal patch, is when will it launch? Blizzard, as always, won't announce a date for some weeks, but there is a possible clue hidden in patch 11.17. Turbulent Timeways, which was originally announced to last for 6 weeks, has been extended to 7, now ending in August the 5th. And with previous Turbulent Timeways ending with the release of a new patch, it is very tempting to think that that will be the release date for 11.20. However, the in-game calendar also has the return of the Winds of Mysterious Fortune event, which is now scheduled to run from the 16th of July through to the 11th of August. And it seems pretty unlikely to me that that would be allowed to run into a new patch. As it turns out, the 12th of August also means that 11.17 will be 8 weeks long, matching the WoW team's normal patch cadence. For that reason, I'm personally predicting a release date for patch 11.20 of August the 12th. Most likely, they have decided to bring Turbulent Timeways forward a little bit to align with the release of BFA Time Walking this patch. But anyways, let's get into the big 11.20 announcement. I will, as always, be avoiding any major story spoilers beyond what is in Blizzard's public announcements, but I will be covering gameplay spoilers, and that will include some footage from the new PTR. You have been warned. The new patch is titled Ghost of Karesh and sees us join an old favourite from Burning Crusade, the Ethereals, in their return to the ruined homeworld of Karesh in an effort to prevent their old nemesis, the Void Lord Dimensius, from coming and threatening Azeroth. Those of you who know your lore will know that Karesh was destroyed by Dimensius, meaning that all that is left to visit is the broken remains of a ruined planet, and the end result is a zone that has some superficial similarities to another broken end of expansion zone, Argus. Like Argus, this new zone is actually split into multiple little subzones, and one of those subzones is very special indeed. Back in Shadowlands patch 9.10, we got the mega dungeon Tazavesh, and I remember at the time thinking that this could have made for an awesome outdoor zone that we could have visited and explored without the pressure of having to run a dungeon. Well, the good news is that this is now a thing, with the brokers transporting Tazavesh to Karesh, where it forms the new city hub for our efforts to explore and defend the ruined world. Thankfully, unlike Argus back in Legion, we are going to be able to fly in Karesh and Tazavesh right from the start, with Skyriding fully enabled. And in fact, flying is going to be pretty much essential in the new area, as we'll be flying seamlessly between those separate mini subzones. And in the case of Tazavesh, we can even fly in some of the larger indoor halls. Removing the constraints of a dungeon encounter from Tazavesh manages to expose the massive scale of the city, and flying does not do anything to diminish that. My understanding is that the area hasn't been majorly expanded on the original, beyond some work to fill in previously inaccessible areas and make them flight safe. But soaring over the area does provide a very different perspective, so much so that it's hard to believe that it's the same. This feeling of size and scale also applies to the rest of the zone. I did see some people who saw the overview map worry that it was as compact as Undermine, but thankfully that is not the case. Fellow content creator So Breezy has done a comparison with the Emerald Dream zone from Dragonflight, and it turns out that this new area is just a little bit smaller than the Emerald Dream. But when I visited it in the PTR, it really didn't feel smaller. Being able to fly between the different areas gives the zone a sense of expansiveness, and this combines with a very similar sensation to the one I get in Outland when flying between Hellfire Peninsula and Netherstorm or Shadowmoon Valley, which is that I am somewhere I really should not be in game. Environmentally, the areas are very similar, being mainly just open sandy desert, interspersed with void scars, But to add a little bit more ecosystem variety, we're also getting another callback to Outland, and that's the huge ethereal ecodomes. The original Burning Crusade accounts of pre-destruction Karesh described it as being an arid planet, so this does make perfect lore sense, but at the same time it does serve to make the areas feel a little bit samey. Overall, I have a feeling that this zone is going to be one that you will either love or hate. But for me, the epic feeling of the area does give me a very positive vibe. And if all else fails, Tazavesh really is as great an open world zone as you would suspect. And I am pretty sure it's going to end up being a bit of a fan favourite. Gameplay wise, one of the centerpieces is going to be a brand new Artefact Cloak. Now, the last time we saw an artifact system was, of course, Battle for Azeroth, so this announcement does give me some cause to pause. The BFA Azerite system, of course, was deeply flawed in its design, and in developer interviews, the developers were at pains to assure us that they have learned some lessons from that. For example, this new cloak is going to be fully account-wide, so no penalty for anyone for having multiple alts. And there's also going to be a very powerful catch-up system that will be available right from the start. The new cloak will not have any built-in secondary stats, but it is going to have a socket into which we can slot threads, which will be made by tailors, most likely to compensate them for not having any cloak customers in Season 3. And these threads will allow us to add customizable stats. And the cloak is also going to have a powerful bonus ability, which will be based on a specializations role. The open world is going to be introducing two major new features. Phase diving will be unlocked by the new cloak and will allow us to enter an alternate phase of Karesh, similar, I suspect, to the alternate phases of Mechagon, Kothia or Siren's Isle. And this area will have additional challenges and new enemies to face, along with a brand new warrant system which will see us helping the Constable of Tazavesh to hunt down monsters. The other system is called Ecological Succession and will see us meeting up with an old frenemy, Venari, who will be setting up her own ecodomes in Karesh and will be asking us to go out and help fill them up with creatures. The first PTR build has been a bit crashy, so I personally haven't had much of a chance to explore these new features in any depth, but the latter kinda sounds a bit like a zoo or garden simulator. But according to Blizzard's description, we'll be scouring previously travelled zones for animals to bring to the new areas. So I am pretty intrigued to see how all of this is going to turn out. For the new season, we're only getting one new delve to add to the lineup, but this one is going to be a little bit different, as it's actually going to be set in an updated version of Dragonflight's Azure Vault. When I heard this, I was pretty excited at the idea we could be given a reason to revisit a previous expansion zones, but sadly that is not going to be the case, as the delve's entrance is going to be on Karesh. While this is a bit disappointing for me, having a single delve in the Dragon Isles would probably have acted as a deterrent for many players to go there, so honestly, it's probably the right decision overall. One interesting new system for delves is that we're going to be able to catch ghostly glimpses of our friends in our delves as we run them, and we'll even be able to see their ghosts where they die. And the new Season 3 delve boss, which will be replacing the Underpin, is our former nemesis from Nerebar Palace, Nexus Princess Kaiveza. On the raiding front, the new raid is called Manaforge Omega, and it will be where we'll take on the patch's main enemy, the Shadow Guard Ethereals. And it's also probably very unsurprising that Dimensius is going to be the end boss. Dimensius is getting a new model, which according to Blizzard is going to be as big as Stormwind City. So I hope you're a fan of big bosses. For myself as a tank, I'm actually not much of a fan of having to fight with a view of a boss's feet and its health bar and cast bars off the top of my screen. So I do hope the developers are doing some work with the environment we fight him in to make it easier to cope with his large size. And for this season, the tier set bonuses are going to be based on our hero talents, which does sound quite interesting to me as a tank. As for us, the hero talents are our main source of damage these days. And if you're wondering if Blizzard plans to continue with the Raid Renown system, the answer is a resounding yes. Currently called Manaforge Vandals, it has been reduced from 20 steps down to 15, which I think is a really great move. In the current season, we've only just hit Renown 17, meaning there's still 3 weeks to go till we're done, and that has felt a little bit too long for me. I won't dive into all of the fine details of the Renown track here, as it'll very likely be changed before it goes live, but it does contain a similar mix of raid power boost, quality of life buffs, and just 2 mounts: the Vandal's Gear Glider at Renown 8, and the Bone Freezer at Renown 14. That latter is a little bit of a mystery, as we haven't yet seen the model for it. For Mythic Plus, the dungeon pool consists of 4 of the existing War Within dungeons, 3 returning dungeons from Shadowlands, including both wings of Tazavesh and the return of a fan favourite, Halls of Atonement, along with a brand new dungeon, Ecodome Aldani. And for fans of Mega Dungeons, Tazavesh will be available in its Mega Dungeon form, with hard mode pre-enabled, and according to the developers, that's going to be tuned to Mythic Plus 10 level, and it is going to be rewarding Mythic Plus 10 gear as well, offering players an alternative to timed content. Dungeon mechanics wise, we're getting a brand new respawn system, which according to developer interviews is going to be accompanied by a change in the team's philosophy and respawns, basically meaning that you can expect shorter runbacks and a lot more respawn points. And these respawn points are going to be shown with a brand new waystone system, making it a lot easier to know when and when not to release. One of the big pain points for the PUG community for quite a while now is the rather thorny problem of players quitting keys, and we also got an announcement of a brand new deserter system. This is going to include a new option for a group to vote if they want to disband, which if it passes will allow people to leave without any penalties. Outside of that, while there will be no immediate punishment for the odd one-off, if a player quits too often, they're going to get a marker that group leaders will be able to see in the group finder, a marker which will eventually drop off, but only if they change their behaviour. Quitting has been a major pain point for PUG groups for a long time, so it is good to see Blizzard trying to come up with some ways to mitigate the issue, and I do think that a system which marks frequent quitters and allows group leaders to decide if they want to take someone so marked is a good solution. There are people who are perfectly okay with early quitting, and the real issues tend to arise from a mismatch between the goals of different members of PUG group, and allowing early quitters to basically end up playing with each other I think can help to solve that issue. That said, I am not so sure about the vote quit option. Such a system carries a lot of downside risks. For example, it only takes a pre-made group of 3 friends to be able to hold the other members of the group hostage. That's okay if it's a group that's just pushing to complete for a weekly vault, but if that group of 3 friends turn out to be toxic people, it's not going to be much fun for their victims. And on the other hand, the system also comes with the risk that people who do want to quit may just turn toxic in order to provoke the rest of the group into voting to disband, or failing that will simply just go AFK in protest. I do support Blizzard in trying this idea out, but unless they are willing to more actively moderate group behaviour, something I am very sceptical about, I do think that the vote system risks becoming an unintended driver of additional toxicity. The best way to defend yourself from this, if it does worry you, is to either find a regular group or guild to run with, or if that does not work for your schedule and lifestyle, there are a growing number of Discord-based Mythic Plus communities, which offer group finding tools, but who also have some very strict and much more importantly enforced rules to prevent toxicity. I am not an expert on the scene in North America, but in the EU, I can recommend the Dungeon Dojo or No Pressure EU groups, and I'll add a link to the latter in the description down below if you want to take a look. And in a developer interview with Marcellian Online, the encounter designers revealed that they consider the reduced difficulty in Season 2 of Mythic Plus as having been a bit of a success, heavily implying that we can expect a very similar Season 3. I certainly do consider Season 2 to be a massive improvement over Season 1, and the overall impression is that this is also the case for the majority of the community, so this I think is very much good news. And on the subject of the Turbo Boost event this season, the developers also heavily hinted that there will be some kind of similar event in Season 3, albeit they did say that they are still working out what that will be and they didn't want to share any more information. One thing that we are going to see change though is the way that we transition from Season 2 into Season 3. When the new patch launches for the first week, Season 3 Heroic and Mythic 0 dungeons are going to be available, along with non-bountiful delves, and these will be a source of champion level gear. A lot of people were fans of being able to do a Mythic 0 world tour in the weeks before the start of the first season in Shadowlands and Dragonflight as part of their pre-gearing campaign, and I do think that this has the potential to be a lot of fun for people who are not super into open world content, although I do worry that it could potentially put a bit of pressure on people who do both. When a new patch arrives in the PTR, it usually does take some time for all the new cosmetic rewards to emerge, but we have been able to discover some of the new mount rewards already. For Mythic Plus, we're getting the return of both Keystone Master with the Azure Void Flyer and Keystone Legend with the Scarlet Void Flyer. And for the raid, Dimensius will be dropping the Unbound Star Eater. And for Heroic Raiders, we're getting the traditional end of expansion ahead of the curve mount, the Royal Voidwing. We're also going to see a return of the Shadowlands Devourers with two new mounts, the Translocated Gorger and Sitharb's Last Lunch, which both seem to be potential open world rare drop. For PvP players, the Gladiator mount is the Astro Gladiator's Fellbat, and we're going to be seeing some recolours of the Headless Horseman's mount, which are currently flagged to be from the trading post. And for Delvers, the Delve mount is the Delver's Mana Skimmer. And finally, with an update to Brewfrest promised in the roadmap, there also appears to be a brand new mount from the Corin Dire Brew encounter, the Brewfest Barrel Bomber, a really cool looking new model inspired by Mimiron's head. And looking a little bit beyond mounts, our characters are also going to be getting something new too. Something that I know a lot of RP players, but also I suspect a lot of non-RPers have been hoping for a long time. And that's a /lean emote. Now, the presence of a curved mount does of course suggest that this is going to be the last raid of the expansion, and indeed in an interview with creator Abaddon, the developers did confirm that 11.2.0 is going to be the last major content patch, albeit there will of course still be some smaller patches to come. And the curved mount is not the only part of the standard final raid of the season formula that we're going to be seeing returning. Final seasons usually come with an infinite augment rune, and this time around is no different, with the ethereal augment rune being the reward from reaching renown 18 with the open world Karesh Trust faction. I don't have the price of this rune at present, but given that the Dragonflight equivalent costs us 100,000 gold, I suggest that you start farming gold early on if you want it. But this is not the only new augment rune we're going to be getting. The Raid Renown track is offering a Soul Gorge augment rune at Renown 9. This is not an infinitely reusable rune, instead it's a rune that will persist through death, offering a really nice quality of life benefit for both raid progression and Mythic Plus runs. According to the Renown track's description, we can get a guaranteed drop of 3 from defeating the Soul Hunters boss in the raid, along with a chance of up to an extra 3 dropping. The Soul Hunters boss is potentially a very interesting source, as there are some indications which have not yet been 100% confirmed that this could end up being an optional boss in the raid. And that's my initial roundup of patch 11.2.0. It's pretty fair to say that we've only just scratched the surface of what the new patch will be offering, and I will be covering all the new discoveries and changes in my regular weekly news updates. So do make sure to hit that subscribe button right now before you forget, so you don't miss out on all of that. I'm pretty excited to be able to fully explore Tazavesh as an open world zone, and being able to help Venari build out new ecodomes does sound pretty interesting. But what about all of you? What are you most excited about? Do you only care about Raid or Mythic Plus, or will you be chasing those new mounts? Let me know in the comments down below. If you found this video update helpful, entertaining, or even just plain annoying, then do let me know by hitting the like icon. And if you don't want to miss out whenever I release a new video, then as well as subscribing, you can follow me in social media. My links are in the description down below as well. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.